All right, today what we're going to be doing is continuing proofs by proving triangle parts. So one of the things, it's almost information that it's like, okay, I already knew that, but we have to write it down because we have to prove it. So one of the so when we're talking about this, we're talking about corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Well, yeah, if they're corresponding, they should be congruent because they're the same spot. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's start filling out our proofs, our two tables. So that way we can do given BC, or segment BC is parallel. So remember that's parallel. I'll write that here, which you should know. All right, so when you see this, it's not 11, it means parallel. All right, so that means parallel. So BC is parallel to AD. So on my drawing, that's what I notated, is I put those little arrows are parallel. That means that this is parallel to that. All right. And then I said that segment AB is parallel to segment CD. So I marked it here because it's saying this is parallel to that. All right. So what I did was for my given statements, I put this here, reason, given. I put this here, reason, given. That's easy. Oops, I'm going to erase that. Maybe not. Okay, come on, pen. There we go. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out how we can prove these are congruent by finding corresponding parts. So corresponding parts basically means same spot, different triangle, or same spot, different shape. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the next thing. So now that we know that this is parallel to this, and this is parallel to that, now we can start looking at the angles. So if angle BCA, we want to know DAC, we want to show that they're congruent. How do we know they're congruent? Well, here's how we know. If I know that this is perpendicular to here, this is my transversal. So when you look at that, this are alternate interior angles. So if you look here, that's my reason, is because they're alternate interior angle theorem, because we continued the parallel lines out and we made a transversal there. So this one is congruent to that because they're opposite sides of the transversal. All right, and then knowing that, now we can also do this way by saying CAB is congruent to ACD because of, again, angles. So alternate interior angle there. All right. And then that's information that we found. Another piece of information that we found, which is kind of your DOE property, your transversal, or the diagonal in this case. So we know segment AC is going to be congruent with segment AC, and that is because of the reflexive property. All right, so now we've done given, we've done all of our found information. Now we have to say the triangles are congruent, and we know that because it's angle, side, angle. So we put that here. But lastly, remember, we're not proving the triangles, we're proving that angle B is congruent to angle D, because here, that's what we're looking for. So we know that those two are congruent because all of the corresponding parts of the congruent triangles are going to be congruent. So everything else corresponds. So therefore, we know that this angle and this angle are going to be congruent with each other. All right, so it's just a bunch of listing the information and how you know it and any found information. All right, so let's go ahead, let's try this one. First off, what I did was we have two triangles here. I just redrew it here. It'll be a little bit easier to see. I just redrew it. All right, so given. You're given, we have this one I put right here. Well, the reason we can say that is because it was given. And then I also put your perpendicular here and here. And again, we can say that because it's given. All right, so now that we've marked our triangles, now we can go ahead and start looking for other information from there. So it's given this, so now we have to say what this is. It's right angles. So let's figure it out. We said WZY is a right angle, and we know that it's a right angle. These were perpendicular, so that makes them right angles. We know it because it's a definition of perpendicular. All right, same thing here. So this one, and if we know that this is a right angle, we know that all of this is a right triangle. So that's going to be the next step. And we know that because it's a definition of a right triangle. So notice we did the angle first, then we did the triangle. So that's all we're doing here. So angle first, then triangle. All right, so now that we have all of this taken care of, all of this goes here, goes together. Now that we've taken care of that, now let's go figure out any other information that we need to find. So for this, we have the hot pink. We know that ZY, did I do that correctly? Yeah, ZY is congruent to ZY, and we know that because notice, don't they share the same? So since they both share this side, that is your reflexive property. So we know these are congruent because they're reflexive. All right, so now we're getting closer. So far we've got some sides, we've got an angle. So now we can say, since we have your sides, we've got a right triangle, this would be hypotenuse, right? Because this is the hypotenuse, and this is your leg. So this is hypotenuse leg, so that's how we prove that those two triangles are congruent. Now we need to put your last step down here, and angle WYZ is congruent to angle XYZ. And we know that because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So we've basically said all the parts are related. So since all the parts are related, we know hypotenuse leg, well, this is corresponding. Since these are corresponding, they're both congruent. All right, you're going to try this one. Again, if you get stuck, get as far as you can, and we will definitely go over that. But remember, you can put your given information is going to be definitely the top couple spots. And then your prove is what should be the last one. And you should know it's going to be congruent parts of triangles. Congruent triangles are congruent. So CPTC. All right. You're going to try this one also. And your hint, you might want to draw two separate triangles if that helps you. All right, let's do number 5 together. I started to fill in number 5. So for this one, let's go ahead and let's mark all the important information that we need. So it says given C is the midpoint of BD. So if it's the midpoint, that means this is congruent to that. and C is the midpoint. And we know that AC is perpendicular to BD. All right, you don't have to draw both of them in. You can only draw one, that's fine. Just know the other side's congruent. All right, so let's go ahead. I filled out part of it. We're going to fill out the rest. So if we know C is the midpoint, that is a given. That's right here. Okay, so we need to put the reason or the congruence, and we need to figure out the reason why. So for this, we're going to say BC is congruent to DC or CD. And the reason we know this, well, it's because it's definition of a midpoint. All right, so now we were given and we gave a definition of it. So now let's look at our given. Now let's find some definitions and then congruence. All right, so let's look here. Oops. So we know AC is perpendicular to BD. So if they're perpendicular, then it's going to make some right angles. So I know the angle ACB is a right angle. I also know ACD is also a right angle. And the reason I know that is because it's definition of right angles, or definition of perpendicular. Right, because it tells us right here. So we just need to define it. Now that we defined it, now we can give some value to it. So let's go ahead and let's figure out what information we can get from this. So we know that angle ACB is congruent to angle ACD, and the reason why is because of the right, and I'm going to abbreviate this, right angle congruence theorem. All right, now let's look at information that we can find. So this is information that we can determine, or information found. So information that we found is AC is going to be congruent to itself, and we know that because it's reflexive. All right, now this almost to the last part, now we need to write our triangle congruent statements. Once we get our triangle congruent statements, then we can say that their congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So let's get our good old triangle statements. So I know triangle BAC is going to be congruent to triangle DAC. And the reason why I know this is because I have a side, I have an angle, and I have a side. Now that we've done all of that, we have proved, since these triangles are congruent, we know that those angles are also congruent. All right, so just remember, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And that's the shortcut for it.